Welcome to a new video discussing what you see behind me, Xiaomi cars, but also very much so how I think there might be a second chance for the Onvo brand, and that kind of ties together. Let me explain in this video. First off, if you like, please subscribe to this channel, also smash a like so you will get actually more people watching this type of content. I would really appreciate that. And now let's jump into it straight. We got a new Xiaomi car presented these days. It's gonna be on the roads in a couple of weeks and months. So now all of the reviews will be rolling in. And of course, the question for us Nio investors is whether or not this will impact Nio. And we've seen the first launch of the Xiaomi car SU7 been very, very successful on its own. And I haven't covered it much on the channel here. I only, sometimes responded in the comment section or made some slight comments. Obviously, I've been reviewing the cars, and from the beginning, I was really never a fan of the SU7, I must say. Possibly, I should have invested in Xiaomi shares given how much they appreciate it, but I haven't, so I need to be frank and honest here. That might have been a missed opportunity, but I don't simply invest by stuff where I think this could create a short-term hype. Although one has to recognize how well of a job Xiaomi has done with the SU7. But one thing that didn't pass my personal vibe check was when I checked the car out in a Xiaomi store in Beijing right when it came out. So I was there last year already when the auto show was going on, and I'm showing you some videos here, and it was obvious to me how there have been made some certain design and material and quality choices that don't resonate with cars that I personally would buy. So first off, I'm not a big fan of this type of knockoff design of the Taycan, although that has been a major factor why the Xiaomi has been so popular, right? But the question now comes to whether this strategy can actually continue like that, and I'll give you my sense about that in a second, and also some design choices that Onvo has made and now how they are hopefully being corrected. But anyways, I'm not a fan of sort of a knockoff design. And then second of all, they made some, in my opinion, very obvious quality choices that must be made in a sense if you're selling a car at such a competitive or affordable or let's say low price point compared to what it is offering. So if you know where to look, you'll find that there have been sacrifices. Panel gaps are obvious, quality design choices, but on the other hand, they also made very good design choices when it comes also to quality, look and feel. For example, the steering wheel I really liked, although of course that's a knockoff of the Porsche steering wheel again. And some materials were really well picked in order to upper the premium to luxury appearance of a product that elsewhere needs to compete on cost tremendously, given how low it's being priced. But anyways, the market is proving me wrong in my skepticism, as much as that this car has been selling very, very well and has been very, very popular. And now the question is whether or not the same thing will be repeated with the YU7, which is again reminding us a little bit of another car. In that sense, now it's a Ferrari Puro Sangue. So whether or not this may be the right approach again, that is a proven success factor, copying something that is very, very luxury and making it more affordable to the masses. We'll see whether or not that can also translate. So I have personal question marks whether or not the Taycan design may actually be more, let's say, popular already in people's minds and therefore be recognized more and therefore be also more attractive to buyers versus the Ferrari knockoff. But it could certainly work also for this type of crossover SUV segment, which then obviously would be a challenge to Nio, the ES6, but then also Tesla, the Model Y. I mean, one thing that Xiaomi has achieved with the SU7 is outselling the Model 3, is something that most of the Chinese brands did not manage to do, right? So all in all, the question mark or the you know the risk or the challenge here for Nio investors and Tesla investors alike is whether or not Xiaomi will repeat the success and possibly eat quite a bit of a market share here with this very compelling and good offer, despite those quality choices that or stuff which you may criticize, but you could also let me know in the comment section. Tell me whether or not I'm being too too spiced up here about these issues. I possibly will be, but anyways, I think we see also now with recent PR issues in the Chinese social media that people are discovering that despite the big sales success that a Xiaomi car is, the SU7, there are issues with bringing so much power to young people that are possibly not the right, let's say, owner and driver of this car, given their lack of experience, is challenging because it's really resulting in many car crashes that you see, and it's now becoming a PR problem in the sense that we see, uh, at least I see, daily car crashes of the Xiaomi SU7, and that's for one because of the power, but then there's also even people looking more into the quality choices. So sometimes we have some minor issues with the wheel going off where it shouldn't fall off in an odd way, maybe to do with some of the less strong enforcements of the vehicle body, the underbody, and how the vehicles are the wheels are attached to the car and such. So that's going very much in detail. But those stories are now emerging. We have now a new story around Nona claiming that the brake didn't work, the brake pedal. So he crashed his Xiaomi car into a parking garage wall and claims that the brake didn't work. I've heard that before with Tesla. I can tell you that my personal opinion is that there is nothing wrong with the Xiaomi car in regards to this, as has not been with Tesla cars. It's simply the owner's fault usually that they are panicking or, confusing the gas and the brake pedal, and so they arrive at this very embarrassing situation that they're crashing their high-powered car because of a human mistake. But anyways, those sort of stories are appearing now, and they are sometimes taking a little bit until such things are evolving. And if you remember how much Neo has been really in the spotlight with various small design mistakes or various little scandals and so on, you can now understand why Neo is much, much more conservative. I talked in my previous video about the launch of the Neo World model, but also self-driving abilities and such, where they usually make the much smarter choices going into long run when it comes to safety, when it comes to quality, when it comes to sustainability choices and so on, where the hope is, from a Neo investor's perspective, that this will be regarded not only by the customers but also by the market in the long run, in a sense that this will appear in numbers. We see for Xiaomi numbers for the insurance premiums that they are going up, while the ones for Neos are going down due to better crash numbers, and also hopefully in the future with the others of Neo being a bigger force for safer driving versus for Xiaomi. We had some issues also with the others functionalities. So it's a sprint and a marathon at the same time. And I think, long story short, if we want to answer the question whether or not Xiaomi will have an impact on Neo, I do think yes, they will take away some of the sales when it comes to the SUV segment as well now. They will hurt Tesla as well. I think it will be another success, but I have my question marks whether the success will be as high as for the SU7, because I do think that the Taycan design is attracting more people actually. However, you could also make the argument that the SUV segment that the YU7 is in is a larger one, so maybe overall the numbers could also be higher for this crossover SUV. Now, spinning all of that, what I not talked about the Xiaomi car, into how this relates to the Onvo brand, first of all, you always heard me talk quite negatively about my expectations of Onvo when it comes to what this could do in the short run. And one particular thing that I didn't like was that it's positioned as a knockoff of the Tesla Model Y, right? It looks quite familiar. It's looking, well, not only looking, but it's been advertised in the beginning as a Model Y killer. And I never really bought into that. I never liked this idea. However, I thought, okay, maybe that's a necessary means if you want to go into the mass market, might be a valid strategy. However, now we can see that it obviously didn't work out. And in a sense, this is a similar stuff of what actually Xiaomi populated and made more successfully than Onvo did. And I think that the differentiation here is that Xiaomi is already a big brand. Everybody knows it. Plus, Lei Jun, the founder of Xiaomi, he's also very, very popular in China. So they started from somewhere where they could play this into a strength, copying another design that is well regarded and that is well known, and bringing that into a more affordable price range. Onvo tried the same, but they started from an unknown brand perspective, and so no one really knew Onvo. Most people even don't know Nio, right? And so that was doomed to fail. Just to say, well, look, this is a Models Y, not a Model 3 competitor, and we are going to beat it simply because the car is better. My personal summary, what I said in previous video is that I do think the Onvo car, the L60, is a better car than the Model Y. However, that doesn't help. Now, why is this whole Xiaomi saga and where we are currently in this price battle and competitive battle a second chance for Onvo, in my views? Well, first of all, Onvo brought out also a new car called the L90, right? That we've seen at the Shanghai Auto Show. And I think they're now, from what I'm reading and seeing on my store visits, but also online and so on, it seems like they are finally finding their advertising and marketing angle, focusing on space, the frunk of the L90, which is huge, which fits those, the whole car fits those 10 or 11 suitcases plus 6 to 7 people at the same time. So that's crazy, right? Plus the idea of efficiency, because one of the shortcomings of the new SUV, the Xiaomi YU7, in my opinion, is, and that's something that I've also talked about in my last videos, how Nio should advertise. The range of the YU7 doesn't seem to be very competitive. So it's using let me look it up, it's a 96.3 kilowatt hour battery pack, so almost 100 kilowatt hours, compared to, for example, the 78.4 kilowatt hour pack of a Tesla Model Y. And it's getting a little bit better range than a Model Y, at least for the CLTC tests, so 770 kilometers. But you can see that the Model Y is achieving a similar range, a little bit lower than the Xiaomi YU7 with a much smaller battery pack. And actually, that's one of the strengths of the Onvo brand as well. The Onvo brand is very, very effective and efficient with their motors and the design of the vehicles, and that's enabling also the better use of space. Let me explain. So the L90, I believe, is the first model actually that's getting the same motor and engine than the ET9. So this whole idea and strategy of having this premium luxury vehicle, the anchor point, the highest model that is having all of this technology, like the new chips and like the suspension and so on, and also the motor trickling down in some lower tier models like the L90, another brand even. Now, because it's getting this very, very efficient motor of the ET9, which is great because it's also making more production of the motor available. Therefore, the scaling effects are setting in. Therefore, it's better also for the ET9 margins and stuff. And now the L90 has this very efficient smaller motor and can actually unlock more space. And that's something that both the the Model Y doesn't have in the same regard, but also especially the YU7 of Xiaomi doesn't have it. So if you look at some reviews of the YU7, you can already see like the space in the back isn't great, the space in the trunk isn't great, the front is great, it's big. But overall, the L90 is definitely having more space. Of course, it's a much bigger SUV as well, but what comes as a bottom line here is Onvo is finding something that they can advertise where they're really, really competitive and others don't have, and it's enabled through technology. So it's an actual mode, something where you need R&D and engineering know-how to get there. So the Onvo cars are actually very efficient with their battery use, and I think, how I said in previous videos, should be advertised differently, not going onto the kilowatt hours, but actually on the range, while having a smaller battery pack. And the Xiaomi has a problem there with both the space and the efficiency. So now Onvo finding a way to market their product should be a second chance, because now they can go and not only say out there, right, we are now the Model Y killer or we compete with Tesla. No, they have their own story to tell, which should be about space and efficiency. And the space topic is, by the way, also coming into the Firefly brand, right? So all of that should be good in the sense that Xiaomi will now bring more traction and more competition in this whole crossover SUV segment, like the Model Y, like the Onvo L60. And it's very good that now Nio has something to compete with and a different marketing angle to tell, which could give them the separation, the distinction, and the unique selling point which they need. And now they should focus on marketing that well. And then I see actually that Onvo could become a nice boost to the Nio sales ultimately, but maybe already by the end of this year. And now we're still in this phase of this small incremental growth, or up and down, right? But I think we will see the Onvo numbers growing continuously, but still lacking, the brand visibility due to this self-branded approach. But now with all of those things, how I explained, coming together and something real distinct and something that they can market and explode, hopefully, I'm not so much in fear about this whole Xiaomi launch having too much of a negative effect on Nio, although I do think obviously some potential Nio ET6 buyers will look into this Xiaomi car as well, but may then find that the space is too small, or may find that it's not as efficient and stuff like that, and may actually even look at the Onvo brand as well and do a test drive. So that's quite interesting how this space is evolving. I'm thinking it's all becoming more mature, and it presents, in my opinion, a second chance for Onvo, a second life, hopefully. Let's hope they're doing it well. Let's hope with some more models in this whole Onvo lineup, they will get a bit away of this, hey, we're just this Tesla copycat, because only Xiaomi has shown how this works, copying Porsche, copying Ferrari. It can work, but Xiaomi and Nio doesn't have it, okay? They need to go a different way, which may ultimately take a little bit more time, but that's the story of Nio, looking on quality and some long-term features that we see now happening also in numbers with the insurances, like the insurance premiums and such. So let's hope, fingers crossed, that this will also be regarded by the market at some point. I think Nio is sometimes not making the short-term design and marketing decisions, and we got to live with that. But as long as they find their own distinction here and their unique selling points and market it well, I'm not afraid that this will be a success in the long run. And so this is how I'm currently seeing this picture. Let me know where you agree or disagree in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please smash a like and see you in my next videos.